Transfiguration Movement number 22, Times and Seasons by Mikhail Korbanyahu. Rabbi Abba said, there are times when Elohim is propitious and ready to dispense blessing to those that pray to him, and times when he is not propitious and judgment is let loose on the world, and time when judgment is held in suspense. There are seasons in the year when grace is in the ascendant, and seasons when judgment is in the ascendant, and seasons when judgment is in the ascendant but held in suspense. Zohar, Remot 5 verse 39. And the Pharisees and Sadducees came, and trying him, asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. And he answering said to them, when it is evening you say, fair weather, for the heaven is red. And in the morning, stormy weather today, for the heaven is red and overcast. You know how to discern the face of the heaven, but you are unable to discern the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it, except the sign of the prophet Yonah. And he left them and went away. Matthew 16 verses 1 through 4. And so it was the morning after I went to bed confused, unsure of who to pray to, and hungover. At that time I was 21 years old, awakening from a lifelong stupor, deaf, dumb, and blind to the higher realities of life. As I shared before, it was another night that I came in intoxicated and attempted to pray before I closed my eyes. But this time, the unease of uncertainty smacked me square in the face as my journey had reached the point where a decision had to be made. Of all the religions that I had learned about up to that point, I was now being put into a position to make a decision about who I was and who is my El. It was a situation that required pressure to produce the contents of my character, a matter that I've never experienced up to that point, despite the many physical challenges that I endured athletically as I bounced back from injuries and attempts to continue my collegiate athletic career in hopes to go to the next level. But while I was looking to sports for my elevation, there was an entirely different preparation life was cooking up for me to experience for an entirely different level of life. Suffice it to say, after closing my eyes and being afforded the favor to open them the next morning upon awakening, I remember rising and going to the scriptures, randomly opening them and turning to Ecclesiastes 3:1, which read, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. At that moment, the words ignited a fire within me. They became more than poetic prose or philosophical reflection. They became instruction. They became command. They became transfiguration. Ecclesiastes 3 lists 28 times, 14 sets of opposites governing human experience. These aren't mere emotional or practical stages. They are kadosh patterns embedded into the soul of creation, expressions of the Creator's calendar. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 2. King Solomon, the wisest man to ever live, wasn't speaking about biological or agricultural phenomena alone. He was revealing a supernal choreography. Every action, reaction, relationship, and responsibility has a designated season. To move out of rhythm is to frustrate your purpose, but to move with the time is to align with destiny. In Hebrew, the word for time used here is zaman, and for season or appointed time, the word is moed. The sages teach that zaman points to temporal measurement, but moed refers to appointed destiny. The Sefer Yetzirah teaches, he made them as a sign for time, a sign for good and a sign for evil, and he formed the soul of every created thing and everyone who is to be formed. This reminds us that time isn't just passive, time is purposeful. Seasons are spiritual technologies. We aren't to master time, we are to discern it. At the center of the Kabbalistic tree of life are three pillars. The right, chesed or loving kindness. The left, gevorah or strength and discipline. In the middle, tiferet, harmony or beauty. These aren't just spiritual traits, they're also timekeepers. When the time calls for action, we must move in chesed. When the moment demands restraint, we respond in gevurah. And when the two seem to be in tension, we walk the middle path of tiferet, which harmonizes mercy and justice. The balance is the key to living righteously within time. As it is written, a false balance is abomination to Yah, but a just weight is his delight. Proverbs 11:1. In our modern culture, we confuse busyness with productivity and impulsiveness with passion. But righteous living is about knowing when to move, how to move, and why you're moving. The Hebrew worldview does not see time as linear, but as cyclical and sacred. This is why the Torah is filled with cycles: Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, New Moon, Shemitah, sabbatical year, and Jubilee. These rhythms keep us in alignment with the Creator. Genesis 1 verse 14 confirms this matter, saying, Elohim said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons, and for days and years." The Zohar says, when the time arrives for a soul to awaken and return to its place, all things in the heavens and earth align to assist him, if he but listens. Solomon's time to weep, time to laugh, time to embrace, time to refrain from embracing are not contradictions, they're calibrations. When we align with the Torah's rhythm, we are no longer tossed by emotions or circumstances. We become as the sons of Issachar, those who had understanding of the times to know what Israel ought to do. 1 Chronicles 12 verse 32. The Transfiguration Movement is about becoming transformed by the renewing of our minds, aligning with the Torah-centric purpose of Yah in every aspect of life, spirit, soul, and body. But none of that can happen without understanding and honoring the sacredness of time. Related to time, I have an essential question for us to seriously consider. How can we transform if we can't discern the season we're in? How can we become who we're called to be if we're operating on yesterday's instructions? One of the most destructive forces in the life of men and women today is mistimed decisions. Relationships, businesses, and spiritual callings all suffer when we move too soon or too late. Every season carries a distinct purpose, and within each purpose lies a deep instruction and even deeper lesson. If we are not attuned to the rhythms and flow of supernal time, we risk misaligning with the very path that was prepared for our elevation. Discernment, then, is the bridge between knowledge and purpose. It is the spiritual awareness to perceive not only what to do, but when to do it. When we do not cultivate discernment, however, we more than likely will confuse good intentions with universal timing and find ourselves building in vain. True transfiguration requires us to align our steps with the heavenly calendar, not the pressures of our environment or the impulses of the flesh. Recognizing the season is the first step toward manifesting our purpose. Discerning the appointed time sharpens our obedience, clarifies our direction, and situates us in the will of the Most High. It is by rightly dividing the times and seasons that we establish the kingdom of heaven on earth, because every act, word, and movement becomes infused with the eternal wisdom of celestial order. Discernment is also the bridge that allows us to cross over to destiny from disobedience. And when we use discernment in relation to time, we are able to prevent unnecessary ordeals from happening. In this spirit, we are encouraged by Rav Shaul at Ephesians 5 verses 15 and 16 to be vigilant and observant given the times in which we are existing. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. Life is a fleeting opportunity to build an eternal inheritance. Just as one invests money wisely to gain profit, Rav Shaul urges believers to invest their time, their kairos moments, in actions that have eternal value. This means prioritizing spiritual growth, acts of kindness, spreading Besorah, the good news of Messiah Yeshua, and building up the kingdom of Elohim, rather than being consumed by transient worldly pursuits. So how do we apply this today? Examine your season. Are you in a time of building or breaking down, embracing or releasing? Let the Ruach reveal it to you. Align with Torah's rhythm. Keep Shabbat, honor the feast, and let the calendar of Yah structure your life. Walk in balance. Do not lean too far into zeal or restraint. Allow the oneness of the tree of life to guide your inner compass. Be like Issachar. Train your discernment. Fast, pray, journal, study, and feel when Yah is moving. Stay ready. Prepare, prepare, prepare. For a time is coming when those who have prepared in the dark will shine in the light. Yeshua's prophecy in Matthew 24 offers a sobering and urgent reminder of the necessity of discerning times and seasons. When the disciples asked, "Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world?" Matthew 24:3. Yeshua responded not with the specific date, but with patterns, warnings of deception, wars, famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in various places. He made it clear. Watchfulness and discernment would be the key to survival and preparation. If we have applied the dynamics that were just covered above, we wouldn't have to get ready. We'd be prepared because we know how to stay ready. He further said, "Now, learn the parable of the fig tree. When its branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near." Matthew 24, verse 32. In other words, we are expected to recognize the signs of the times just as we would the changing of seasons in nature. This prophetic awareness is not just for predicting events, it's for aligning ourselves with Torah-centric purpose in real time. It's about making spirit-led decisions that establish Yah's will on earth before the fullness of judgment or redemption is manifest. The Transfiguration Movement calls us to that very posture, to wake up, to watch, and to wisely steward our assignments. As the Master said, "Blessed is that servant whom his master, when he comes, shall find so doing." Matthew 24, verse 46. May we be found discerning and doing, anchored in Torah, alive in spirit, and prepared in truth. Because now is the time for the sons and daughters of Israel to awaken to the Kadosh rhythm of the Most High. The signs above and the stirrings within testify. The era of unawareness is ending. It is time to move with intention, in sync with the appointed times, lest we continue to miss the visitation of the Ruach and the unfolding of the kingdom. To truly discern times and seasons is not merely to understand weather patterns or historical epochs. It is to become aligned with the appointments of Yah. As revealed in Leviticus 23, the feasts of Yah are its appointed times, not man's inventions. Each Sabbath and festival is a portal in time, an opening in the heavens where transformation is facilitated. Shabbat, the seventh day, is not just rest, it's a sanctuary in time, a transfiguration of our temporal consciousness into eternal awareness. It's the dress rehearsal for the millennial reign of the Messiah and a weekly covenant reset. To honor the Shabbat is to honor time itself, for Shabbat was created before Israel and before Torah was codified. It is a testimony of creation, Exodus, and the final redemption. As Isaiah 66:23 affirms, from one new moon to another, and from one Shabbat to another, all flesh shall come to worship before me. This is the rhythm of transfiguration. To be where you are supposed to be, doing what you are supposed to do, when you are supposed to do. Not by intellect alone, but by walking in the Ruach of Torah, through daily obedience, reflection, and righteous action. When we operate in sync with the calendar of Yah, we experience healing, provision, clarity, and empowerment. We no longer act in haste or out of season. We speak when it is time to speak, remain silent when it is time to listen, sow when it is time to plant, and reap when it is time to harvest. These cycles are encoded into the very fabric of reality, into the days of creation, the rotations of the moon, and the agricultural feast of Israel. To ignore this is to war against one's own design. But to heed it is to be transfigured, to become what Yah intended from the beginning, a light to the nations, a kingdom of priests, a holy nation. In this state, our bodies, minds, and spirits come under Torah-centric order, and we, like Moshe, shine with the light of heaven, prepared to build the tabernacle of Yah on earth. Let's not wait for a future moment. The moment is now. Let us honor the time we've been given by aligning our lives with Torah, honoring the Shabbat, embracing the festivals, and manifesting the image and likeness of Elohim through discernment, discipline, and devotion. As the Sefer Yetzirah teaches, he set them in the Teli, the cycle of the year, in the heart of the human. All three, cosmos, calendar, and consciousness, must be in harmony. This is the essence of the Transfiguration Movement, to remember the time, to recognize the season, and to rise as vessels of supernal light. This article is not about mysticism for mysticism's sake. It's about alignment. The signs of the time are everywhere. Wars, famines, revival, innovation, confusion, awakening. The question is not what time it is, but what time is it for you? Your time to awaken is now. Your season to build is here. Your moment to weep, to war, to embrace, to speak is happening even as you read this. The Transfiguration Movement calls for awareness, for discernment, for decision. Let us not be spiritual bystanders watching the clock tick toward eternity. Let us become sons and daughters of the Most High, aligned with its times, flowing with its seasons, transformed by its truth. Quote, he made everything beautiful in its time. He also put eternity in their mind, but without man ever guessing, from first to last, all the things that Elohim brings to pass. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11. Know that you are not too late. You're right on time. Now rise and shine, for your light has come, and the esteem of Yah has risen upon you, as Isaiah 60 verse 1 prophetically proclaims to you, because now is the time of transfiguration. Selah.